welcome back to another episode of Unscripted and Unchoreographed. I'm your host, Sarah.
And I'm Neve.
And today we're here with our guest.
Well, hello guys. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so honored to be here today with you. I am a professional dancer from Venezuela.
We're going to jump straight into it. How did you get started in the arts?
Well, I started like 23 years ago when I was 11 years old. I actually started because I always used to say that I love everything related to arts, dancing or singing or like acting, everything like that. But at the same time, I didn't like to be with my family. So my mom brought me to therapy just to know what happened. The therapy says like, well, you should put her into something, some activity to dance or something, because she only said she wanna be an artist. And that's then my uncle, he used to be in a dance school. In there they were specialists in salsa. And he said to my mom, okay, leave it to me. I'm gonna bring her. And since then I never stopped. That's how I started.
When you started doing it, was it like an initial, oh, I love this? Or did it take time for you to fall in love with it?
Oh no, I loved it. I loved it from the day one, like even before. I always loved to dance. The school where I started is called Imágenes Latina in Venezuela. The specialty is salsa, but they also taught to the kids any other styles like contemporary dance, ballet, jazz. But the main thing was salsa.
Did you try other styles or was it just salsa you were doing?
Yeah, I try other styles as well. I do a little bit of contemporary, bachata, like mostly Latin, but I also do other styles.
When you were getting a little bit older, maybe, was there a certain point you thought, oh, I'd like to do this as a career or taking this full time when I leave school? Was there a certain point in time that happened?
Yes, when I was like 15 years old, I started dancing with it was like my boyfriend at that time. And we started dancing together and competing. Yeah. Professionally, I started like doing like professional competition. And it was another world. Like, you have to demand yourself a lot, put a lot of training into it. It was another level. Since that moment, I knew I wanted to take it seriously, like as my career. So I started training more, being more perfectionist about what I wanted to do. That was my break point.
And how did you find the transition going from just a few years starting in salsa and then suddenly making that jump to competing?
I think it wasn't a big change in that aspect, because when I started, I was going like 3 days a week to dance and rehearse. When I started competing, it was more or less the same, like the quantity of days, but it increased the amount of hours that I was in a dance from. Let's say if it was 3, well, I was then 8 hours or something like that, training or doing more classes and things like that. I didn't feel it was sudden. It was a gradual process, but it still changed. Also because when I was still in the junior category, let's say in the company, they invited me to be part of the professional too. So I was doing both at the same time. Yeah, of course it was a change because I was dancing with people that had more experience and more time doing it, and older people than me. It was kind of strange. I was still a kid, but at the same time it was something normal because I was doing both. So
And how did you find competing? Was it something you enjoyed doing?
it's a bitter sweet, how you call sweet bitter sensation, because you love it and you hate. It's like a love-hate relationship, honestly. I love it because the way you train and you prepare for it is another thing. Like you don't do the same when you are not competing. At least in my case, yeah. The way you prepare, it prepares you like mentally, but at the same time it's very scary. The adrenaline you feel when you're doing it, you really enjoy it, but at the same time, being there when you are just about to go on a stage is like, I don't know, it's so many things that you feel, so many. It's a roller coaster of emotions. Like, I really enjoy it, I like it, but at the same time, every time I'm about to go out, it's like, why did I do this? Like, why? But yeah, you enjoy it.
What would your day look like on the day of competitions?
For preparation, let's say before competition, months before, just wake up, go to the gym, go to the studio. Let's say, I don't know, I do gym like probably 1 hour, but then the rehearsal is at least 3 hours a week. After that, well, if you are, let's say, you live with your parents and you're a kid, it's easier because you don't have to go work or anything, so you can rehearse more. But now that I'm an adult, after my rehearsal and then at night I go to work, I teach as well. During the competition day, it depends how many categories are you competing on. Or let's say if you are in, normally you will be like one or two categories, right? So it depends. Sometimes it could be one of the last competitions that I was at. It was in the Eurozone last year. It was in Mexico. So we started competitions like at 8 or 9 a.m. It's a full day of competitions. My category started at 9 a.m. Then after that, you wait for the results. If you pass to the finals or the next category, well, you go again. It could be, I don't know, 8 in the morning or at night, or it could change as well. But like it's mostly all day competing or waiting. It's basically that, just like rehearsing a lot while you are there and going on stage, rest a little bit, and then go back to it.
It sounds kind of similar in a way to, I think, a lot of the Irish dancers. They have very intense weekends or days of competition. I would have loved to have done like ballroom dancing. I watched Strictly
Yeah.
Come Dancing, and you're like, oh my god, the glittery costumes and everything. You're just like, oh, gorgeous. But while you were competing and training, you were also teaching. How did you find balancing teaching and training yourself?
I started to compete again last year. It is easy to balance because it's my only job. That's my main job. I'm a full-time dancer. I try to be as organized as possible to have everything fit. For example, my mornings are only for my trainings. I have a few classes, like let's say private, but I try to put them where they don't clash with my training. Mornings are for me. I have a little time for rest, let's say 1 or 2 hours in the afternoon, and then from 5 or 6 p.m. I start again my classes until like 9 or 10. So it's quite easy to balance for me because I can divide the day into first part is training, second part is classes. Before I was here, let's say a few years already, and I was competing again as well. And I used to have a dance studio at the moment, and I used to work in another place and a studio as well. It was a little bit more difficult. I had to divide the day a little bit more. I used to go in the morning. I was a barista. I was going also to the university after that. And then in the afternoon, I was going to teach. And after that, I was rehearsing. It was a little more tiring. And obviously, you don't have the same energy to put into it. But yeah, even though it was difficult, like, it is doable. Like, if you want, you can do it. But I can say that now it's easier.
And where you're teaching now, is this your own school?
No, it's not my own school. I used to have a school, and we closed it when the pandemic arrived. Since then, well, everything open, and then I just like rent a studio and organize classes in town. My classes are mostly adults between the 20s, and it's more or less something between around that ages. I love it so much. Yeah. Before, I used to think that I didn't like it. Before, I was more prepared to go on stage, but then I started to prepare more for teaching, observing more, being more aware of what people need. I can arrive probably tired because obviously we are humans. We don't have the same energy and the same mood every day. But once I put a step in the dance studio, my mood changed. It's another thing. I really love it.
Well, I had something similar. You're newly trained and you're like, oh, I don't want to teach. Like, I just want to be on stage. Soon discover that teaching is not
Yeah.
as bad as I think as that we think at the very start.
You learn how to love it. It's the other part of being an artist. I realize as well that when I teaching people, I teaching myself on steps, on mentality, on patience. So you have to be kind of prepared for a little bit of everything.
So you grew up in Venezuela.
Yes.
When did you come to Ireland, and how was that transition?
Yeah, I came to Ireland 11 years ago in 2013. I used to live with my dance partner in Panama. We were dancers in Panama. We didn't like in that moment. We wanted to move. We wanted to grow. We wanted something else. My dance partner found some information about some English courses in back then in Canada, but the same school was here in Ireland. So we were planning to move to Canada because we knew everything there, and we were there that previous year. There was a little issue there that you couldn't work, like we were saying, like how we gonna survive. So we found the same course in Ireland, and then we decided to come here. It was Europe, and it was a dream for us to be in Europe, and like also there were lots of congresses and things like that, and that we said, okay, it's Ireland, let's go. Initially, we were coming for 6 months, and well, 11 years here.
Was there much of a culture shock coming here? Because straight away, when I think about it, you've got two very different weather climates going on. Did it take time? I assume it would take time just getting used to being in a new place and
Yeah.
finding out how you fit in. How did that go for you?
Initially, it was a little bit of a shock. As you say, the weather is different weather. Venezuela is very like hot and tropical. And arriving here, when I arrived, was August, and it was already cold. However, it was a dream for me being in a different country with different weather and a different language. So it was exciting. But then I think probably everyone have that kind of transition where yes, you like the country, but at the same time you don't like it and you wanna leave. Obviously, as well, when I used to teach in Venezuela, it was different because probably I didn't have to explain steps. I didn't have to, as I say, my process. I feel here I learned how to teach because in Venezuela I didn't have to explain. I just showed the steps and that's it. Everyone catches. But like in here, I had to explain where does the movement come from, have everything very structured, people ask questions. Now I have to study how I move because I know I need to explain to that person, and that person needs to understand how do I make this move. So yeah, in that sense, yeah, it was a little bit of a shock. And obviously, salsa is Latin rhythm and very close social, and we are very like touchy person, and lots of contact here is different. They have more distance, and those things you have to learn it. It takes a little bit of time to to get that close here with people. But like yeah, it was a little bit of a, I don't know if shock if the real word is just understanding that it's different and adapting. That's what I feel.
Is there much traveling involved in competing?
Yes. Yeah. I arrived here. I came with my dance partner in that moment. We were competing. And after that, we decided to split. And I started dancing on my own as a solo. I started competing as a solo. Then I stopped. I went back after like 7 years, more or less, last year. Yeah, it's loads of traveling. Last year, I went to Berlin, Mexico, and this year, starting in January, February, I went to United States and Spain as well. Just my last competition was in October in Spain. So it's loads of traveling and investment as well in it.
Do you enjoy the traveling part of it, or would you prefer to not have to travel?
No, yeah, I really enjoy it. I have to say, I really like it. I think that's the best part. I love being in the airport.
Do you have a favorite place that a competition is held, or a place that you're like, "Oh, if there is a competition there, I'm definitely going"?
Not really, but I think I like the experience of going to somewhere different. It was my first year going to Mexico last year. I really love it, and I think I will repeat it. I wanted to go this year as well, but obviously I was doing so many competitions that like I couldn't. I will say I will repeat Mexico, but yeah, like I'm very open. I'm very open. I have a ladies crew as well here in Ireland. It's an amateur team. We're going to Greece in May, so I'm looking forward to that.
You were competing as a solo, but you were also competing as a duet. Could you just explain the different categories and how they work?
I used to compete in partner, which is a girl and a boy. And then I start competing solo, which is, well, just basically myself doing footwork and creating a routine where I can express myself with anybody. Also, I compete in a duet with one of my students. We went, well, actually, we first place this year in the World Salsa Summit. She lived in Mexico and I live here in Ireland. So we had to create the routine and rehearse through camera. So what I did was I created the routine and she learned it. And then she came in July. We rehearsed like for 10 days together. And then I went as well earlier to rehearse together. So we just had to add positions and synchronize between us. Also, you have group competitions, which is bigger group. It could be 3 or 4 or 10 people in it. Yeah, it depends. We have a professional category, which is what I do, and also you have like pro am, amateur, or yeah, it depends as well. Like so many levels as well.
So you were training on Zoom with your partner who is in a different continent.
Yes.
How do you find your partner? How does that happen?
Well, in my case, for example, my first partner was the guy that I came with to Ireland. Well, we were dancing together for like 10 years, more or less, 7 years, something like that. And we met in the studio where I started to dance in Venezuela. We grew up and we started to create a career together. In the duet part, it was one of my students. She came to live in Ireland for a few months. In my first plan was to compete in groups. So I have a few girls that came to my classes and I created the group. But for different reasons, we couldn't go together. Only she, the girl in Mexico, and myself wanted to go. By that time, she was already in Mexico. So we decided to still go ahead and continue with the trainings. I sent her the choreo, she learned it. Honestly, it has been a really, really good experience. It was my first time working with her, and like it was one of my best experiences because like I think we both were in the same page. We both worked as much as possible to make it happen, no matter the result, which they were really good, but it's more the work we put in it and the consistency we had during the process. And then for my last competition, I did solo and I did also partner with this guy. I knew him from Venezuela because he was one of my first teachers. But like I didn't see him like at least for 15 years or something like that. So I met him again in Mexico in the competition I went with my student. And we saw each other and we started to talk. And he asked me, because I told him I was competing with this girl and we rehearsed online, and he proposed to me to compete together. So he's living in Puerto Rico and I'm living in Ireland. So I traveled to Houston to meet him and rehearse with a coach that we have as well. We rehearsed like for a month. I came back to Ireland and then we met 3 or 4 days before the competition. Like it was a really good experience as well. It was very scary because, like we didn't rehearse as much as the other competitors because we weren't in the same country. But it was a really good experience. I really enjoyed the process as well.
Is it common for people to like that not be in the same country as their partner?
No, it's not common, but I think it's very difficult to find someone at my level in Ireland for salsa. Like there are so many good dancers for many other reasons, but especially for salsa, which is what I do, it's difficult. So when he told me to compete, I went straight away, okay, let's do it. It was scary, but then everything worked to make it happen. So yeah, we made it happen.
That's amazing. Fair play. I've never heard,
There's
especially
something
in a
crazy.
sport and an art that there's just so much contact.
Yeah.
I think it'd be one of those things I feel like I'd have to experience it myself to nearly understand how that works. Because
Yeah,
fair play.
we learned the routine. Like I was there with him for a month. We rehearsed every single day, every hour, as much as we could. Then when I arrived here, my previous dance partner that lived here, I asked him to help me with to rehearse as much as we could because obviously our different people is not the same. And also like I rehearse on my own. Like I think you have to put a lot of yourself because like if you have to do it in a normal situation where you see each other and you are rehearsing yourself for a solo, well, you have to put even more when it's a situation like that because you don't see each other and you have very little time to prepare. And our case, we're representing Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Ireland. It's loads of in our shoulders. So yeah.
How do you go looking for a new partner?
Well, in my case, I haven't looked for a new partner, honestly. It just came, came to me. I feel like dancing in partner is like having a relationship. It's the same thing because it's a person you're gonna share most of your day or life with. You're gonna travel with that person everywhere. It's like having a relationship. You're gonna have disagreements and things like that. In this case, I haven't looked for a dance partner. As I say, it just came to me, and like I have to be thankful because it has been very good with my first dance partner. Like obviously it was different because we were dancing together since I was 15 years old. So, like but then since I been on my own and dancing now with these new people, it has been like great. Like, honestly, even though my last competition, like we never danced together before. We danced together because we grew up in the same group, but we never performed together as a partner. It worked really, really, really well. I have to say, it have been a good experience for me at the moment.
Are there particular countries that produce just really good salsa dancers?
Salsa comes from the Caribbean. Is like it started in Cuba. There are lots of good dancers from Cuba, from Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Mexico as well. They are creating really, really strong dancers. There are lots of competitions there. Is growing a lot. But like also in Europe, like I would say in Italy, there are so many good dancers. I wouldn't say a particular part, but like there are so many countries now that are getting involved with the culture, with the dance itself, and are creating like really, really good dancers. Now you don't have to be a Caribbean person or a Latin person to be a really good salsa dancer. Even from Japan, you see really good salsa dancers. And before, you used to believe that because you weren't a Latin person, you didn't have that flavor in you. This is an example that is not like that. Like, it doesn't matter where are you from. What it matters is how much time and how much you study to grow as a dancer. Well, as in everything as well, yeah, in any career. But like now that we're talking about salsa or dance, yeah, it doesn't really matter where are you from. It's how much you study and put into it.
I think it's wonderful, and so many people and countries have access to so many different styles. Irish dancing is like that as well. There's so many schools all over the world. Because people always go back to like for dance 1994, where it was like, what the hell is this? And now
Yeah.
suddenly, if you were to say Irish dancing, people are like, oh yeah, I've got a vague idea what's going on. It's wonderful that I think that's happening in nearly every dance style. Slightly pivoting onto my next question, being able to move around and dance, it costs money. You were very lucky to get an agility award. How did you find the process of applying for your agility award, and how has that helped you in your dance?
Well, my process, I apply a few times. The first 2 or 3 times, it wasn't approved. And then, like the fourth or the fifth time, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get it. I changed things. When I received the confirmation message saying that like it was approved, I couldn't believe it. I feel really grateful because honestly, as a dancer, that as a competitor that has to invest lots of in training and coaches and things like that, it helped me a lot. You have to pay for a studio for you in order for you to train. It helped me a lot. But my process, I was a little bit up and down because of what I do, salsa, that is not really considered art. It's more like a social dance. So I feel in order for me to get approved, I had to mix it with contemporary and go some Afro, which we have African roots in salsa. Not let it be only salsa, but mix it with something else. Because I applied like 6 or 7 times, I realized that every time I changed something, I was closer and closer. Okay, probably, no, it's not here. I have to, okay, yeah, I have to mix it here. It was an easy process once you understand how to make it. and it's very satisfactory once you achieve. And in my case, I got the last two approved, so I feel really grateful. They helped me a lot for my trainings and for my coaching as well. My coaching process, I had to invest quite a lot in it.
I probably should have asked this earlier. You've got yourself here in Ireland and your partner's in Mexico. Do you have a coach? And is the coach in a different country again? Or does always one of you have the coach in the room and they fly back and forth?
Yes, I always have a coach. When I'm competing on my own, it could be here in Ireland. There is no people competing in what I do. So I used to have coaches of other styles, which is good because it's another perspective. But like for a salsa competition, you need a salsa coach as well, like someone that understand about salsa itself. So for my first competitions, yeah, I had one of my friends. His name is Eloy Quesada, and he's a jazz contemporary dancer and hip hop dancer. Like, he's amazing in what he does. So he used to help me with my choreography. But then for my last competitions, I decided to go with someone from salsa. So when I competed in Mexico, I got a teacher that lives in Cyprus, but he's from Cuba. His roots are like Cuban style, like Afro-Cuban and salsa. And then for my last competition with my previous dance partner and the last solo I did, I got another coach in the United States, in Texas. His name is Carlos Suarez, and he's a salsa dancer as well. Like, yeah. And
That's
in this case, like when I did with the teacher from Cyprus, he used to coach me online. I connected at 10 a.m. every day. It was like 3 hours difference. He used to watch me and correct everything. With Carlos, he sent me the choreo online with videos. He created the full choreo in this case. He sent me the choreo, and then I went to Texas during the summer and stayed with him and rehearsed as much as possible. Yeah.
And how do you find coaching and learning choreo online? I'd say it's a skill you've had to learn over time. I know a lot of us were training during the pandemic,
Yeah.
and some people now, the thought of doing something online is just a big no, no, no. How do you find training online?
I think that's something that taught me the pandemic to be able to adapt more. When the pandemic came, I was teaching as well some classes online. So it was weird in the beginning, but then you got used to. Yeah. Since the pandemic, I think I have been taking some trainings online. So it's not something too strange to me because I kind of adapted. But yeah, it's different. It's obviously not the same watching there the person and being there present, like to ask as many questions as you need to ask. And I feel I'm a very visual person. I need to, watch the steps or copy the movements as much as possible. In that sense, it's a little bit strange and a little bit difficult, but it's adapting. When you have no other option, you go for it, and that's it.
You started your own like, sportswear company. How did that come about?
That started in the pandemic. When the pandemic arrived, we had to close the studio. And like I was like, I couldn't be like just quiet doing nothing. I had to do something. So I started to get more involved in that moment. Like, but I wanted to keep fit because I was thinking like I wanted to continue dancing, competing, and So I started to take courses about more like fitness and things like that related to that world. I always like that part. And then I say, I want to create something. Before I wanted to do a brand like a brand of shoes for dancers. I was working on that, but like, it didn't work. And then like I was on my mind. I had it on in the computer somewhere, creating for clothes for girls. So I just went back to that project and I started to look, for suppliers, suppliers and things like that. I found one in Colombia and we started to talk. Yeah, we just I just went for it and that's it. Yeah, I always like to have something that represents me.
Mm.
Sometimes being just a artist is difficult because like this is not a very stable career. There are times where it could be, but there are times where you don't know. You live from your body. Like you don't work, you don't eat. Find the way to put your eggs in different boxes. That's what I'm trying to do. Still in the process, but like I think I'm going in the direction.
It's wonderful people like who are artists and they want to create something else just to even keep themselves afloat. I think it's just so important. And doing something that they love. I used to work in a very famous fast food place
Mm-hmm.
while I was training, and it was horrible. If you have a side job that you actually enjoy
Yeah.
and is connected, I think is so important.
Yeah, it's super important. I used to work for so many years in something I don't necessarily loved it, but like I needed. And like once I took the decision to only focus on my career, it was like game changer. Because like even like sometimes you feel obviously you feel scared because as I said, this is not a very stable career, so you need something else to live. But once you put your fear on the side and focus, everything start to work for you to live your dream and live from your career. I realized 2 years already ago when I decided to quit that job. I feel really thankful because I learned from those other jobs. One of the things I learned is if I wanna grow in what I love, I need to put that fear on the side and go for it no matter what. And you're gonna make it work. Yes or yes, you're gonna make it work.
When you decided to, like that, put your career first in dancing, did you have any pushback or reservations from parents or friends, or did you have quite a supportive network?
I started to work like teaching when I was 14 years old, like no many one or twice. Then I like seriously teaching. I started teaching in a primary school. Yeah. At the same time, I was 18 years old and I was studying. I wanted to study dance, but my mom used to say to me, "You have to go for something that is gonna give you money. Dance is not a career you're gonna live from. La la la. All those things that you already know." I said, "Well, what is gonna give me money?" The only person that I knew that I could see that had money from my family was an aunt. So I asked her, "What did you study?" And she studied tax administration. So I went for the same thing. I didn't know what it was, but I went because I wanted to make money just as my aunt. I studied that. At the same time, I had a dance studio in Venezuela. I was working in a circus as well. Everything was related to dance. Dance, 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 and that career that I didn't even know, like I didn't even like. So it came the time to travel to Canada. It was a competition there, and I had the money to pay my career or to pay the trip. So I took that money and went to Canada, and that's how I just did like four semesters. I didn't study that anymore. My mom wasn't so happy I did that, but honestly, it was one of my best decisions because dance had given me so many opportunities that I wouldn't have got if I was studying something like my mom have always support me. My dad in the beginning he didn't like, but then like when he saw everything I was doing in Venezuela, I was in a TV program. Once he saw it was really good. It was something I love and like it was good for me. They support me and they didn't say anything about me leaving the career.
Almost that thing of it's fine when you want to do it as a hobby and when we're a child,
Yeah.
but then suddenly when it becomes a possibility of being a future, suddenly people really have to they question of like, well, how do you make money from this? How do you make a living? Because it's not your typical
Yeah.
9 to 5 job.
Exactly, yeah. But it's very necessary because it's not a 9 to 5 job, but like we take those people that come 9 to 5 to keep to help them with all those stress and things. I have so many students like with normal jobs. Once they come to me, it's a relief. It is sad that it's still not considered. We're getting there, still not considered as a normal job, which is very important and necessary because we help lots of people. Dancing is medicine.
Thank you so much for being so honest and so open. You're just so positive, and maybe that is why everything works out for you in your career. Because yeah, you said earlier about that adaptability, like whether it be online or like in different countries. How do you stay so adaptable, or do you have any advice for people who find it difficult maybe to be adaptable?
I think pandemic taught me a lot of letting go. Is you understand that we probably don't have the control of everything. When you just flow and let things happen the way they have to happen, it works out that it's gonna happen the way you probably want it to happen. Let things go. It's easy to say, but actually you try to put it in practice and it's gonna work out. Let things happen the way they have to happen, and that's it. Yeah, like we cannot control everything. It's impossible. It's something I learned with the pandemic.
And if you were to give someone who is interested in getting involved in the arts or in salsa dancing, is there any advice for starting out?
It's never too late or too early to start. I don't usually teach kids, but like I have taught kids. Well, I have a group of ladies Wednesday morning in Steel Oregon, and they are all 60s, 70s, 80 years old. They have improved their salsa amazingly. So it's never too early or too late to start. Just go and try. You lose nothing with trying. Probably you don't like it, but you don't go, and that's it. You don't go anymore. But if you feel you want to try something, just go for it, and that's it. Probably gonna end up loving it.
And if someone wanted to go and try out one of your classes, where are they and when are they?
Yes, I have beginners classes in my arts dance studio in South William Street. It's gonna be Saturdays at 1, and I also have classes Monday and Tuesday in Mind the Step at 7:30. Yeah, Mondays is lady styling, improvers level salsa, and Tuesday is footwork and body movement intermediate level.
So I've been to Mind the Gap Studio. It's a really nice studio.
Yeah, it's so nice, and the cafe, everything.
I love the way that they've managed to create a space where you can hang out like before or after a class, because
Yeah.
so many times there's like just a corridor and you're like, oh well, we have to go
And you
somewhere else.
wanna keep talking, and
Yeah, so it's
yeah,
great if you're new. It's not like, oh my god, let's just go into the studio, and this could be maybe daunting for people who are not used to a dance studio space.
totally, yeah. I really love it too.
Our final question is, do you think there's anything that the government can do, maybe Ireland, but also because you've experience of living and working in other places, do you think there's anything the government could do better to support artists in their career?
Well, now that I've been training on my own because I don't have a studio, and I found kind of really difficult first to find a space that is available, and second, in a good price. Especially when you have to spend so many hours in a dance studio. It's something I've been talking as well with other colleagues. Something that could be improved, in my opinion, could be like creating more spaces that are affordable and also available for us to be more creative. I would say that probably more studios or those kind of spaces where you can go inside and create and spend hours and be there. Probably that will be my opinion.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's been absolutely wonderful talking to you, just getting to know your story. And you radiate, like me said, so much positivity. It's almost infectious. Especially because we're doing this late in the evening. We're all tired. It's great to come on and have someone so positive. It makes our job so much easier.
Thank you so much. Really, thank you for having me. It's my first kind of podcast in English. I'm really happy because obviously it's always challenging, but I'm really happy to be here and I'm really happy to share this moment and a little bit of my story as well with you guys. Yes. Thank you so much.